One, two, one, two, three.
There you go. Perfect. All right. Let's go. Get him. Medic. I got it before it ran out. Good. So we got to have the shotgun in our hand.
You're right next to the Grand Washington Hotel.
Okay, here we go. That should get their attention. Head to the service entrance on the east side of the building.
Oh, great for the big dude. So as soon as that goes, bam. Stack. You guys see? I'm even using my bad controller. It's my shitty controller.
Once you're inside, find a way to the atrium.
All right. All right. So now I want to see. I don't know. If
Hostile radio intercepted.
We're under attack. It might be a diversion, so be ready.
What's up, agents? How y'all doing? Hope everybody's hanging in there. Being as safe as you guys need to be. Staying warm with the up-and-coming holiday season. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the little loot goblins running around, giving us the slayers, and I'm trying to find the new, previously new, chill out mask. I want to find one with repair skill on it, so I roll skill tier, build my perfect healer. Finally going to be dealing with healing. Won't have to do anything else. But anyway, what I wanted to talk about today is the Sledgehammer perk. The video is doing pretty good here. Our good old perfect Sledgehammer Mad Bomber build. That thing kicks ass. In fact, some of the comments I got, thank you for you guys. I didn't realize that it would actually be as effective in legendary content in the team if somebody's sole purpose is to just keep debuffing enemies. Some people had hit me up and said, actually, it's a great idea. So I'm glad that worked out. And I didn't realize it would be that effective. Awesome. So what I want to talk about today is actually how I use Sledgehammer, because it is now effectively a part of almost every single build I have. And what it effectively has done is it's replaced Future Perfect. Now, I still love Future Perfect. Future Perfect is great in the range to proc the overcharge so that I could see what kind of damage numbers we can expect with an overcharge, or even just with certain other sort of damage buffs we may get from a myriad of external sources. So it's really cool that way, but very hard to proc. So rarely in heroic and legendary content is there a guy within range with such a small amount of health who doesn't die from something else sooner that I could switch weapons, pop out, get the kill, swap back. So that leads into the Sledgehammer perk and how can we use it. Now first I want to talk about how I'm using it. I'm using it on my sidearm just like I would use for Future Perfect with my backup boomstick. You can, of course, use the lefty or the stage left if you want to go with the perfect version for 40% damage to armor, 30% reduction of movement speed. We're only going to go with the 30-20. And a big thing to note is and I don't know if they changed this, but I realized it's damage to armor. So this is not direct weapon damage. It's damage to armor. And we'll get more into that in a minute. So the one thing I want to note is I don't use the perfect versions because I like having my capacitor and then either a weapon with in sync, in my case the mop, but any weapon with in sync, or perfect in sync. Or if you're using any of the status effect variations, you may want to use something with perpetuation. So that means I go with the sidearm. The other cool thing about using the backup boomstick is because it's a shotgun, it comes natively with an additional plus 12% damage to armor. And if you get lucky and you have one with damage to targets out of cover, this can really help to buff up some damage, especially if you're using something like Seeker Mines, the Hive, something like that, where it's a skill that benefits from the damage to armor. So I'll just quickly talk about how I use it. Basically, I sometimes use it in combat, but the number one way I use it, and when I'm running solo, it's easiest, I will sneak up on an engagement. I'll, find my inner Tenchu stealth assassin. I'll sneak to a good spot. I will keep the sledgehammer, the backup boomstick with sledgehammer in my hand. Throw the grenade. You have to wait. If you swap weapons and swap back before the grenade explodes, you will not get credit for the sledgehammer. You have to keep the weapon with sledgehammer in your hand the entire time until the perk procs. So, sledgehammer in hand, throw the grenade, wait, explosion, then you swap to either your weapon within sync, your weapon with perpetuation, if you want to get your capacitor stacks, if you're using Scorpio, whatever you do, you can do that as soon as the sledgehammer procs. As you should. Immediately start taking advantage of that perk right there. Now, one other cool thing to note, if you guys are running with the skill builds, is you don't actually have to shoot anything. As long as the sledgehammer weapon is in your hand and you toss the grenade, that's all that's needed. Easy peasy. You don't have to worry about getting shot if you're using glass cannon, perfect glass cannon, where you're a little apprehensive about getting up and out of cover. Okay, to quickly talk about the specializations, if you are running for survivalist for any reason, that's the one time when I really recommend running perpetuation. You can toss the incendiary grenade, the entire ground is on fire, those dudes catch fire, proc the perfect sledgehammer, but you can then pop one of them in the head once you swap over to a weapon with perpetuation, and the next enemy to get hit with the status effect, most likely one of those guys still being in the fire, it'll proc that 50% damage bonus and duration. So works really easy if you are running survivalist to do that. Another note, if you're running technician like I am, and I think a lot of skill build guys are, you are going to want to run the concussion grenade most of the time instead of the EMP grenade. EMP has a slightly larger radius. The problem is you have to damage enemies to proc sledgehammer, which means the EMP will only damage dogs, drones, any robotics and inorganic material. It will pretty much damage, but a concussion grenade will damage everything. Yes, it's only a 3-meter radius, but it's effective against every enemy. So now quickly I'll just cover the pros and cons about running this build the way that I'm running it. And if you guys think of anything else, please leave a comment down below. Now first off, if you're running solo or you're running in a fire team that your team is not cock blocking you, then it's really easy to sneak up on a lot of the engagements and get a free grenade out there to proc the perk. Of course, a lot of times you may get cock blocked too. The other pro is it is significantly easier to use the sledgehammer perk in game than to try to proc Future Perfect with a sidearm. That's just my experience. You guys may experience it differently, but it's night and day to me. I can actually use sledgehammer in almost every single mission. Almost everything I do, I find that I'm actually using it. Now, the biggest problem is a lot of times I'll toss a grenade and be like, oh, sledgehammer, and move over to it. Nope. I had to have the sledgehammer weapon in my hand before I threw the grenade. I fucked up. So that's on me. Other than that, it's really, really kind of easy to implement it into the gameplay. So I really think Future Perfect is great in the range to get those numbers, but Sledgehammer is where it's at for now. All right, now let's talk about the cons, the things you need to think about, the things you need to consider and be aware of if you want to run this functionally in your build. Now, the first one is if you have a capacitor stacked up, say you have 40 stacks, or you have perpetuation procced, as soon as you swap over to Sledgehammer, as soon as you swap that weapon, you're going to lose whatever proc or stacks you had on whatever weapon it happens to be. If you had the blue screen with the marks and shit, your stacks are going away on yourself. So kind of a small thing. Most of the time you're going to be using it as you're sneaking up, so you won't have those stacks anyway, with the one exception possibly being perpetuation, because you can easily carry that from one engagement to the next if you have the headshot but you hadn't procced the status effect. Now, another thing to consider is there's certain skills that you don't get benefit of damage to armor. In my case, the striker drone and the assault turret and the sniper turret, they're all bullet based. They are their own entities, so they don't get the bonus of my damage to armor. So I don't do any bonus damage to them. Now, another downside is the fact that many of the enemies that are slow enough that we could take advantage in the middle of combat to toss a grenade on, something like the Warhounds, the big Juggernaut tank guys, you'd think, okay, this is going to be great. I can use Sledgehammer and proc it on them. And it'll proc on them. You'll see the marks. But here's the inherent problem. They don't have armor. They just have a gigantic health bar. So while it looks like, oh, okay, they have the debuff, yes, but they don't have any armor to take that bonus damage. So it's a placebo effect. It makes us feel good that we got the debuff on them, but ultimately it literally does not do any bonus effect. And that leads to the last thing right now that I'm aware of. And again, if you guys think of any other pros or cons, leave a comment down below. The last problem is, unless you guys are running that perfect Sledgehammer build, you know, without Acostas and without the Mad Bomber, you're suddenly going to start noticing a deficiency in the amount of grenades in your inventory. Particularly if you don't use Acostas, right? Because you're going to be missing out on, I think it's like 3 extra grenades or something like that. And if you aren't running with the Mad Bomber, you're not going to get those grenades back per kill if you're getting lucky enough to get the grenade kills. But either way, without running both of those talents together, it significantly decreases the efficacy of running the Sledgehammer perk. You will notice that it's just hard to have enough grenades. And even in this video here, as I'm running Grand Washington, I'm just noticing that I'm having to save grenades in certain spots so that I can use them for testing in the next spot. So it's just not as efficient if you're not going to dedicate yourself to the build. But, as I said, using it at the very beginning of each engagement, it just has great effect. And my final opinion is that it is simply significantly easier to play with than Future Perfect, and you can use it all over the place. So there's lots of different times that you can use it, and it's pretty fun, you know? I mean, I find myself having fun trying to aim grenades, and it's a whole new complication to add to the game. So, all right, guys. Hey, thank you so much for watching this. Hopefully, if you got anything out of it, or even were just entertained by this video, do me a favor, smash that like button. Hopefully, by now, you guys that haven't subscribed, I've earned that subscription. Best thing you guys can do to help my channel is to share this video. Please, anything you guys would do different, anything that you guys have noticed about the game, please leave a comment down below. Help us all out. You agents, be as safe as you need to be out there, and I will catch you all in the Dark Zone. Happy holidays, agents. Peace out. Good cap, maxed out. What's Sally doing? I'm gonna pick her up just to find out what Sally is. Damn, dude, almost 190,000. Jesus Christ. Did you see her rip that shit up? You fucking go, girl. Holy shit. Alright, let's get Harry back on this, though, because he's having some fun, too. So we got about 190,000 when Sally's ramped up, and Harry's over 300,000. That's pretty awesome. Remember back in the day, we were having to, like, you know, overcharge and have somebody else in Future Perfect. It's pretty nice. I'm glad that we can do that now. Of course, that's one at a time, you know. Probably the average damage would probably be about 180,000 for the drone, and probably, you know, 290,000 for the turret. Yeah, buddies, we whoop some ass. I like this build, and I do like, you know, and this is why I wanted to do a video on it. I do like how you can use the Sledgehammer perk. It definitely has its time and its place. Good damage numbers here. Down to 171. Okay, so we got 171. So that's still nice. 171,000. Looks like we get down. Okay. sacrifice.
Manny, there's Odessa on the line.
I think the 254 was that one.